Hey everyone, it's Luna. Before we begin, just want to let you know I'm sick. So, one, I sound like crap, and two, I look like crap. But, I'm still gonna do this because I'm determined. Today is 14 of my year and a day training. So, end of 2 weeks. So, it's already been 2 weeks. Anyway, so today's exercise was rethinking God. And it's mostly focused on people who were not pagan beforehand, which kind of suits me in a way because 10 years ago I wasn't. So, one question that it asked is, what images of God did you hold as a child? I was raised Protestant, specifically Pentecostal and Baptist. Um, I guess I couldn't say raised. It was about the age of 8 when my mom began to really be really devout. And I grew up in the church, pretty much. I remember going to church when I was really little. I still remember some of the hymns from when I lived in Puerto Rico. I was born there. Up until I was about 4 when we stopped going to church because we no longer lived in Puerto Rico and no longer had a church that we were comfortable with. Anyway, thanks for the military. So as a kid, I always viewed Jehovah or Yahweh or God, whoever you want to call him, as faceless. He was just this male body without a face. It was mostly because of the mythos of you can't look upon his face or you will die kind of thing. You can't hear his actual voice or your head will explode. That sort of thing. If anybody's seen Dogma, you'll know what I'm talking about. So to me, I always viewed God as this unobtainable, faceless man being. And the next question goes to ask, how have these childhood images influenced my understanding of the divine today? So, since Jehovah was this faceless spirit being to me, it was easy for me to believe that all divinity was faceless. I'd always felt that he was just one of many gods, and the gods in general didn't need to have a corporeal form. They had absolutely no bodies. I just saw them as energy. I felt that they were energies within the universe that surpassed time, space, and anything that anybody could ever rationalize with. It was something that nobody could truly comprehend. And so it then asks, are the images of God that you know actually representatives of God's fundamental nature? And in all essence, I think so. I think that all life stems from this energy. We have this energy within us, and it comes from the divine. And the next question goes to ask, are images of God important and why? For me, I feel that having a symbol or image of God helps better to relate. I don't care what they look like, but if I symbolize it with it, it's easier to relate. Which goes on to the next question, which is, what is the purpose of believing in deity? And I feel that we, as humans, have so much suffering in our lives, from child abuse to adult abuse, domestic violence, murder, poverty. Just we have a lot of suffering in our lives. And I think with divinity, people can have an explanation for why things are, why things were, and what things will be. So it goes on to ask, do we cheat ourselves at any level by characterizing God through image? And why not? Again, back to, I feel that we need something to relate to. As people in general, we can't understand faceless energy unless we ourselves are faceless. And to better relate, to better feel more comfortable with divinity, with deity, we give it a face, we give it a form, something that we are more comfortable with, something we feel like we can connect to. Like somebody might give it a form of a specific animal that they feel warm to. For me, the gods are ever changing, so it doesn't matter what they look like to me. I will always have them. So it then goes to ask, does it bother you to see the word God not capitalized? In the book, it doesn't capitalize the word God at all. And for me, no, it doesn't bother me. Growing up, it was Jehovah. Actually, Jehovah. But the only time it was ever capitalized for me is if I were using it as a title, such as Sir or Mr. or Lord. I saw God as a title for Jehovah or Yahweh or Jesus. Doesn't really matter. I just see it as a title. Which goes on with the next question, does the word God need capitalization? And to reiterate my previous statement, only if it's being used as a title. For example, if I were to say Zeus, and I ended up just replacing his name with God, I'd still use it as a title. I'd capitalize Zeus. God Zeus. God Jesus. Goddess Freya. Bast. Whatever. It's still like a title like Sir or Mr. But if it's just used as a pronoun, I don't capitalize it. So speaking of capitalization and all that fun stuff, what automatic conditioned responses do you have in relation to words, letters, and grammatical formalities? I'm a double major. I'm a history major and an English major. Being an English major, grammar and words are symbols. It's used to better communicate with the masses. If it is not done in a similar way, communication just gets thrown by the wayside. Proper communication is hard to come by these days, so I have this eye twitch I've developed. If proper communication is not used, it's very, very hard to understand people. So when I see terrible use of punctuation and grammar, and I've started developing this eye twitch in my right eye, and it's really, really annoying. And I'm not a grammar Nazi by any definition of the word. It's just that I would like it if people would write as if they know better. And I would understand somebody who didn't go to school having difficulty expressing themselves in a written form. But if you've gone to school, you need to learn it. Do it. Anyway, however, the only power in words, in their meaning, is what you put into it. A word's only going to mean something if you put meaning to it. Like, if you put belief behind it. I can say, this is a duck. This is my milk duds. But I can say this is a duck. And if I continue and I tell somebody else, if I tell Lilith on Owls and Ox that this is a duck, and she starts calling this a duck, it's going to keep going. Duck, 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 duck. It's like the word dog. When anybody says the word dog to you, you have a different picture in your mind. When they say dog, I automatically think of my dog, which is this tiny little Cocker Spaniel who's kind of a spaz. She's old and she shakes. But that's what I'm thinking about. If you say dog to another one of my friends, they'll start hyperventilating because they had a bad experience with dog. So for me, words only have power based on what you give them. Anyway, this was just the exercise of rethinking God. I want you guys to rethink God. Think of how you see deity in general, and give me a response back. You guys have a good night and brightest blessings.